I hope the future can be bright with medical and technological advancements and not end up being repressed like in this movie. Maybe the future portrayed in this movie is just too cruel to be imagined. Stick around until the end to see how these men that forcibly take organs gave to the patients and their shaky friendships that will never be the same. Welcome back to your daily dose of Movie Pill. Today, we're recapping a 2010 sci-fi action movie titled Repo Men. Spoilers ahead, and let's dive right in. The year is 2025, and humanity has archived remarkable feats in bioengineering. Artificial organs, or artiforgs, are no longer science fiction, but a highly desired and valuable resource. The Union, a powerful corporation, offers these life-changing implants on credit, but God help those who fall behind on payments. That's where the Repo Men like Remy come in. With a tattoo on his neck marking him as one of the Union's enforcers, Remy is the undisputed king of repossession. Tonight, he finds his target indulging in some leisure time. Without a hint of hesitation, Remy interrupts the scene, coldly announcing his affiliation with the Union before utilizing a specialized taser to render the man unconscious. The woman with the target attempts to fight back, but Remy's movements are swift and practiced. Unfazed, he puts on protective gear, blasts his music, and with the chilling efficiency of a surgeon operating for profit, cuts the man open. The artiforg, a symbol of both medical marvel and ruthless capitalism, is retrieved, cleaned, and sealed. Another repossession is complete, a stark reminder of the steep price tag attached to these life-extending wonders. A harsh sunrise wakes Remy up, an illusion of normality. Breakfast with his wife Carol, a goodbye kiss to his son Peter on his way to school, provides a brief pause before the harsh reality of the day sets in. Remy, the city's most efficient repo man, dons his white coat and ventures out. Each stop a brutal echo of the same outcome. Artiforgs repossessed, lives carelessly snuffed out. The Union headquarters, a monument to corporate greed, pulsates with a twisted form of normality. A costumed employee, a grotesque caricature of the organs Remy rips away, catches his eye. He grabs a coffee, his presence a chilling reminder to the desperate client seeking salvation. Witnessing a slick salesman, backed with Frank Mercer's manipulative charm, securing another artiforg contract only solidifies the ruthless nature of Remy's work. The Repo Men's break room offers a tense shelter. Raymond Pearl, angry about his probation following a brutal attack, he subtly insults Remy. Their troubled history is further complicated by Frank's arrival, who ushers Remy away. A secure room becomes their destination, where Remy scans the day's pool of artiforgs. Here, he's joined by Jake Freevold, his best friend forged in the fires of war, their past marked by Jake's childhood bullying. Now, an uneasy alliance binds them, united against the cold machinery of the Union. The war's end left Remy and Jake with a unique skill set perfectly suited for the brutal efficiency of the Union. A shared laugh erupted as they tased each other, earning a scolding from Frank for their childish actions. Despite the scolding, Jake extended an invitation for drinks, an offer Remy readily accepted after checking in with Carol at her workplace. Their reunion was far from pretty. Carol, frustrated by Remy's line of work, questioned why he hasn't pursued a transfer to sales. Their exchange devolved into a volley of insults, a familiar pattern highlighting the growing divide between them. In the car, Jake ignited a familiar argument, suggesting Carol was trying to control Remy. He insisted their path as a repo man was the only life they knew, despite Remy acknowledging his wife's concerns. A red light provided a brief pause. With practice ease, they scanned a passerby, their scanners revealing the telltale signature of an artiforg. The man, visibly shaken, received a chilling reminder of the consequences of delinquency, a cruel amusement for the jaded repo men. Laughter echoed through the car as their terrified victim ran. The bar offered a temporary escape. They drank beers while discussing the possibility of repossessing someone they knew. Remy, however, seemed preoccupied. His gaze remained fixed on Beth, the bar's melancholic singer. Hours later, back home, T-Bone's smooth melodies filled the air as Remy approached Carol. His advances were met with a blunt rejection. Suppressing his disappointment, he retreated upstairs, seeking comfort in his son's room. The day's events faded as Remy listened to Peter's stories about school. A brief but precious moment of peace relaxed him. A few days later, Remy's backyard buzzes with the happy noises of a barbecue. But the festive atmosphere is shattered when Jake shows up with a proposition. He needs Remy's help repossessing an artiforg from a client, right there at the party. Remy's initial resistance is overturned at the promise of half the hefty double commission. Disaster strikes as a taxi pulls up. Disregarding any sense of discretion, Jake throws the client onto the street and proceeds with the repossession in plain sight. The gruesome scene erupts into Remy's worst nightmare. Carol and Peter witness the entire ordeal upon entering the house. Fury contorts Carol's features. She throws down a stark ultimatum. He's job or his family. Before storming out with their son, Remy, left staggering, informs Jake he'll have to find another way. As evening settles, they head out on patrol, a tense silence between them. Their attempt to distract themselves with chatter about the new M5 neural net, a technology offering eternal dreams for the brain damaged, proves futile. Their conversation is abruptly cut short. Jake's scanner beeps, revealing a chilling discovery: a nest, a secretive refuge teeming with numerous desperate individuals trying to leave the country. In a frantic attempt to escape the iron grip of the Union, Remy and Jake retrieve their arsenal from the car trunk. Stepping into the nest, they launch into an attack. Tasers crackle, electricity sending bodies crashing to the floor in a heap. But desperation fuels a fierce resistance. Two particularly defiant men force Jake to resort to fighting using a stun baton. Remy finds himself locked in a visceral hand-to-hand fistfight, his knife flashing in the dim light as he fends off attackers. A cry for help pierces the chaos. Jake, grappling with a hulking figure, seems on the verge of defeat. With a surge of adrenaline, Remy slams his attacker onto the ground and rushes to aid his partner. But their victory is a hollow one. A simmering tension hangs between them as they return to Frank's office a couple of hours later, their loot including 2 prize-scanning jammers. Frank's approval is laced with a hint of surprise. He offers them promotion, full-time raid captain. The offer hangs in the air, a tempting path they could choose. But Remy hesitates, a flicker of doubt crossing his features. Before he can voice his request for a transfer to sales, Jake preempts him, firmly stating their satisfaction with their current roles. As the workday ends, Jake throws Remy a knowing glance, a reminder of the order they enforce, however brutal the means. Dropping Jake off, Remy steers his car towards a familiar destination, the home of Jimmy T-Bone, the musician he's always admired. Finding T-Bone lost in artistic problems, fueled by a mysterious red powder, Remy hesitates. When his fandom is revealed, T-Bone throws him a curveball, a request to collaborate on a song before the inevitable repossession. Torn between loyalty and a yearning for a different life, Remy agrees. The music fills the air, a poignant counterpoint to the darkness that surrounds him. And as the final note fades, Remy makes a silent vow. This will be his last repo. He'll deliver the music, a final act of defiance against the system that's consumed him for so long. With a heavy heart, Remy asks T-Bone to comply, needing to first disable the heart with a defibrillator unit. Tragedy strikes as the device malfunctions, unleashing a powerful jolt that throws Remy unconscious, the 3rd time in his life. Days later, he awakens in a sterile hospital bed, greeted by a somber sight: Jake and Frank. Carol had visited, but the pain was too wrong, forcing her to leave before Remy gained consciousness. They explain the incident was a faulty unit, but the most impactful news hangs heavy in the air. Remy's own heart has been replaced with an artifact. Frank launches into his usual sales pitch, a grating reminder of the very system Remy now despises. Filled with a newfound defiance, Remy rejects the artifact, his actions fueled by a desperate hope for a different life. He disconnects the monitoring equipment attached to him, blood staining the sterile floor as he stumbles out of the room. Weakness overwhelms him. His body, reliant on the artificial organ, betrays him. He collapses, the weight of his choices and his dependence on the Union slamming into him. Release day arrives. His first attempt at home is met with a jarring reality: a changed lock. Carol, her face etched with pain, answers the doorbell. A suitcase filled with his belongings is thrust into his hands, a reminder of his choice. He'd chosen his job, and as said by his wife, that means his family will leave. Dejected, Remy seeks refuge at Jake's place, offered alcohol and fleeting pleasures. Remy longs only for rest, the weight of his decisions a heavy burden to bear. A few days later, Remy trudges back to work. Immersing himself in a new repossession, he's ill-prepared for the sudden violence. The client resists, leading Remy to grapple with him in desperation. Shaken and exhausted, his body rebels. A racing heart and weariness become his unwanted companions. When the time comes to reclaim the artifact, his hand shakes uncontrollably. The weight of his actions hits him hard, freezing with the chilling realization the life he's holding onto is founded on cruelty. Later at the bar, Remy attempts to mask his disturbance with a fabricated success story, but Jake's exaggerated tale, complete with a tearful family begging for mercy, exposes the lie. Remy is consumed by guilt as he flees the bar. The weight of his deeds is a suffocating burden for him to bear. The next day, a desperate attempt to connect with his son offers only a fleeting hug. A cold eviction notice from Carol shatters any lingering hope. It's a harsh reality check. He's drowning in debt for the very heart keeping him alive. Back at Jake's, honesty about his struggles earns him a lifeline, a return to repossessions when he's ready. Sales are a disaster. Empathy replaces his ruthless pitch, leading to a spectacular failure. Horse racing is also another dead end. The life he once knew seems lost, replaced by crippling debt and a future shrouded in a suffocating sense of despair. But a flicker of defiance ignites within Remy. Maybe there's another way. Maybe this artificial heart can beat for something more than just this brutal existence. When the final, ominous notice arrives in the mail, Jake reluctantly offers an olive branch. He takes Remy to a nest, a refuge for defaulters, even resorting to tasering a couple of people for him. Despite the assistance, Remy remains paralyzed by his newfound aversion to violence. Frustrated, Jake throws in the towel, leaving with a parting shot. get his act together, and come back with enough artiforks to clear his debt. Remy's paralysis deepens into a horrifying act. Unable to remove the artifork himself, he lashes out at the awakened, defenseless man. Another brutal beating, leaving the victim unconscious for the 4th time. Days later, a familiar melody draws him in. Following the haunting notes, he finds Beth at her most vulnerable. Ravaged with withdrawal symptoms, driven by a newfound sense of empathy, he takes her to a motel, offering comfort and a watchful presence during her detox. A scan with his repo tool reveals a shocking truth. Beth harbors a multitude of artiforks, all ready for repossession. When Beth finally emerges from her delirium, she reacts violently, punching Remy for his unsolicited help. Yet, when she whispers that it's over for them both, a flicker of hope ignites within him. Maybe, just maybe, it isn't. Fueled by a desperate gamble, Remy breaks into the Union's heavily guarded building. His objective is to clear both his and Beth's crippling debt. He manages to erase one of her many artificial organs before his presence is detected by Jake. Anger and disappointment cloud Jake's face, but Remy's silent plea and the returned taser gun soften the blow. One last goodbye remains. Remy sneaks into his old house, stealing a bittersweet moment with Peter before returning to the motel. With a heavy heart, he informs Beth they must flee. They leave the city behind, driving to its abandoned outskirts. After setting their car ablaze, they disappear into the shadows of an empty building, their uncertain future a stark contrast to the life they'd left behind. Meanwhile, back at the Union, Frank faces a rebellion. His attempt to assign Remy's case is met with a united front of refusal, a silent protest from the very men who once embraced the ruthless system. Weeks turn into months as Remy and Beth transform their refuge into a makeshift home, salvaging discarded treasures from the city's waste. One night, after Beth confides the stories behind her collection of artiforks, a spark ignites. They kiss, and love blossoms between them. To capture these newfound emotions, Beth surprises Remy with a salvaged typewriter, a tool for him to craft his story. Life in their sanctuary continues until one day, Beth's enhanced hearing picks up a sound that eludes Remy. With headphones amplifying the signal, they witness their worst fear come true. Raymond, the repo man assigned to Remy's case, enters their haven. Thinking fast, Remy and Beth devise a desperate plan. They hastily move their belongings to another room, a room with a gaping hole hidden beneath a flimsy sheet. Beth disappears behind a door, while Remy fakes to be concentrated on his writing as Raymond enters. He thinks it's going to be an easy capture, as he brandishes his weapon, stepping further into the room. The unstable floor beneath him gives way. Raymond plunges into the hidden hole, dragging Beth down with him in the resulting collapse. The fall damages Beth's prosthetic knee. Seizing the opportunity, Raymond lunges with his taser, aiming it at the injured Beth. In a split-second decision, Remy grabs the nearest weapon, the typewriter Beth gifted him. With Raymond neutralized, Remy steals his car and speeds Beth back to the city for supplies. However, Beth's resourcefulness shines as she demonstrates the ability to repair her own knee using scavenged tools. Returning to the Union, Remy takes a daring gamble. In the parking lot, he spots the man in the lung costume, an unsuspecting target. A swift move and Remy becomes the lung man, a disguise for his infiltration. Inside, he finds Frank in his office and unleashes his pent-up anger. Punches rain down on Frank, followed by threats delivered at the tip of Raymond's taser. As a final warning, Remy leaves a piece of skin bearing Raymond's tattoo, a gruesome message to anyone who dares follow in his footsteps. Desperate to escape the Union's control, Remy pleads with Frank for a way out. Frank reveals a frustrating change. Debt can only be cleared by physically delivering the repossessed organ to the Union. Frank proposes a shady deal, but Remy rejects it, knocking him out cold. He grabs the scanning jammers, a vital tool for their escape, and races back to Beth with a daring plan. They're fleeing the country. Meanwhile, a furious Frank awakens and orders Jake to recapture Remy. At the airport, the jammers mask their artificial burdens, allowing them to bypass security checks. Freedom seems within reach, but fate intervenes. A watchful passenger spots Beth's injured leg, alerting authority. Their escape is foiled, and they're detained as a guard prepares to bandage Beth. Back at the Union, the stolen jammers reveal their purpose. A scan triggers an alert, exposing Remy's presence. A desperate fight for freedom ensues. The couple throws themselves into a chaotic brawl, using fists and anything they can find as weapons. Beth, ever resourceful, even grabs a pair of scissors, disarming two officers in a brutal act of self-defense. They emerge victorious, leaving a trail of unconscious guards in their wake. They seek refuge in an abandoned building within the city slum. Here, they meet Asbury, a black market organ dealer with whom Beth has a complicated past. After an awkward reunion fueled by drugs and a heated moral debate, Asbury delivers a devastating blow. He no longer deals with joints like Beth's prosthetic knee. Their only hope now lies with a mysterious figure named Alva. Their search for Alva unveils a shocking truth. There are two Alvas. One, a young woman, specializes in anesthesia. The other, the actual surgeon, is a child. A horrifying twist that raises the stakes of their escape plan even higher. Anxiety consumed Remy as he watched the young Alva prep for surgery. Despite her age, her movements were practiced and confident. Hours later, Beth emerged from the procedure. They were met with a chilling sight. The place was ransacked, Asbury gone. Suddenly, Jake appeared. He extended a reluctant offer: return to work. But Remy, hardened by his experiences, refused. He accused Jake of manipulating him, revealing the rigged defibrillator that plunged him into debt and forced him into repossession. Fury ignited, and a brutal fistfight erupted. Initially, they seemed evenly matched, but Jake's ferocity overpowered Remy. He slammed Remy through a wall, then continued the assault until Remy found himself dangling precariously on a metal bridge. A twisted scene of defiance welled up within Remy. He pulled a hidden knife and plunged it into Jake's leg, only to be knocked unconscious in retaliation. Remy was woken up by Beth. Jake, incapacitated by her taser, laid on the ground groaning. Frantic, Beth urged him to run. A cacophony of gunshots filled the building. A brutal repo raid was underway. Trapped at a dead end, they were unexpectedly saved by Rhodesia, the leader of a hidden resistant movement. She ushered them into a concealed room, but upon seeing Remy's tattoo, suspicion hardened her gaze. Only the visible scar from his heart replacement convinced her of his identity as a debtor, granting them temporary refuge. Nightmares of the carnage haunted Remy. He ventured out, his stomach churning at the sight of lifeless bodies strewn about, including the young surgeon Alva. The weight of this situation crushed him. He confessed to Beth that escape seemed impossible, a desperate plan forming in his mind. He proposed a daring move: infiltrate the Union's headquarters and wipe their entire system clean. Hours later, aboard a train, they encountered a tense reunion with Carol and Peter. A heated argument with Carol quickly flared, foreshadowing the chaos that awaited them. Peter, loyalty surging through him, uses his father's taser to subdue Carol. A heavy weight settles on Remy as he entrusts Peter with his manuscript, a testament to their harrowing journey. "Find me in Punta del Este someday," Remy whispers, the promise he was sure to keep. They orchestrate a swift ambush on Frank. A zap from the taser renders him unconscious, and they steal his car, speeding back to the Union's headquarters. The building now embodies both their captivity and their potential liberation. Desperation fuels Remy's action as he takes down guard, one silently subdued, the other a chilling shot. Frank's eye becomes their key, unlocking a security door with a single scan. Time tightens its grip. A bullet shatters a camera, silently raising the alarm. Their frantic escape leads them through a bustling lab. Scientists consumed by their work on artificial organs barely acknowledge them. One scientist, however, seems to understand, making eye contact before disappearing through a door. Before Remy can bridge the gap, gunfire erupts. Guards swarm the labs, their bullets painting a brutal picture of the Union's power as they cut down scientists. Caught in the crossfire, Remy and Beth make a split-second decision. They follow the lone scientist's path, a desperate gamble leading them towards the Union's database. A formidable lines of guards and Repo Men stand between them and freedom. A brutal battle ensues. Remy, out of bullets, resorts to his knives, a flurry of lethal strikes taking down most of their attackers. But sheer numbers overwhelm him. Cornered on the floor, he calls out to Beth, a hacksaw becoming their last resort, a tool for survival as they eliminate the remaining guards. The metallic tang of blood fills the air, a constant reminder of the brutal cost of their fight for freedom. In the aftermath of their brutal battle, Beth's prosthetic eye becomes their key. It unlocks the door to the database just as Frank and Jake storm in. Inside, a cruel realization dawns. The server requires an organ scan to operate. They're faced with a horrifying decision: carve into themselves and scan their artificial implants. Fueled by a desperate hope in the red powder's energy, they begin the agonizing procedure. Remy bravely goes first, enduring the scan of his artificial heart as Beth seals the wound. Then, one by one, Beth's prosthetics are scanned. Just as they reach the final implant, Jake and Frank, using an organ from a fallen Repo Man, crash through the door. Frank orders Jake to eliminate them, but Remy pleads for Beth's life. A shift occurs within Jake. Recognizing the depth of Remy's love for Beth, he rebels. With a swift knife strike, Frank falls. Jake, in a surprising act of redemption, hands Remy a syringe to revive Beth. When the system demands the scanned organs for confirmation, Jake throws a curveball. He replaces them with grenades, triggering a massive explosion that obliterates the entire database. In a single stroke, every client of the Union is free. Fast forward, Remy, Beth, and Jake find themselves basking on the sunny beaches of Punta del Este, the sound of T-Bone's final song filling the air. Freedom tastes sweet. Jake even sports a clean arm, his incriminating tattoo erased. Peter, under the pen name The Repossession Mambo, has published Jake's gripping memoir. A lighthearted teasing session between Remy and Jake takes a sudden chilling turn. Remy vanishes, replaced by static on the ocean's surface. The truth unfolds. Remy never woke up. The brutal blow Jake delivered on the metal bridge left him in a coma. Fueled by the stolen organs from Asbury's, Jake paid for Remy's heart transplant and a neural network connection. The beach scene was a bittersweet goodbye, Jake's way of saying farewell before caring for Beth and discovering Remy's manuscript. Now, trapped within his dreams, Remy will live a blissful existence forever. The heart-pounding roller coaster ride that is Repo Men leaves us questioning everything, from our own humanity to the morality of medical advancements. Remember, next time you miss a payment on that new kidney, there might just be a Repo Man knocking on your door. I rate this movie a 7.5 out of 10. What do you think?
Looks like this movie pill is starting to wear off. But don't worry, there's always more where that came from. Tap here to keep the effects going with this next movie, because who can stop at just one? And while you're at it, don't forget to like and subscribe, because your next movie dose is just a click away.